What's going on, everybody? Thank y'all for joining us here today with Chad's Media. I'm Tyler Lennon. We have a very special episode today, kind of a combo of the Tyler Lennon Show and the Lennon Closet podcast. We have a very special guest with us today, the head coach of your state semifinalist Sulphur Bluff Lady Bears volleyball team. It is Coach Lacie Jessup. Coach, Thank you so much for coming in today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We've been very excited. So I've been covering your team for a couple of years now, and you know, you've had a good team both years that I've been covering and everything, but it's been a ton of fun to watch y'all and everything. I want to kind of break down through this entire season, but just first thought, I mean, you make your first ever state appearance in school history. I mean, how's it feel?
Oh my gosh, it's really indescribable. It's such an exciting feeling. Just the amount of congratulations we all received, the amount of support we had from the community, from the school, from the county, like it was just a really fun feeling, and just watching the girls come together, work as a team, and really just make their goals come true. It was really exciting. It was a fun year.
So I mentioned you had a really good team last year as well, and of course you bring most everybody back. I know you lost a couple of players and everything, but you know, you had the success last year. What were the expectations coming into this year? Because as someone who just covers the team, you know, I feel like I have a pretty good gauge of everything, but I was curious. I didn't know. I thought, well, they'll definitely be good again, but I didn't know how, you know, to what level. So kind of what were your expectations and goals coming into this year?
So we, as a team, we actually would sit down and kind of talk about our goals for the season. Where were we wanting to make it to? What were some of our goals as far as state level, playoffs, district, all those things. And I noticed at the beginning of the season, most of the goals that we had mentioned as a team were, we want to win district, we want to win district, we want to win district, we want to go undefeated in district. And I remember one point, we were probably about halfway through the district, and I called the girls into the locker room and I said, you know, guys, I know we've talked a lot about winning district, but have we talked a lot about our goals past that, which is even more exciting than just the district play. And so I asked the girls, I said, so what are your goals? Where do you want to go? And they said, well, we want to go to state, coach. And from that point on, it just became something that we all felt like we were reaching towards. Like, we had never really verbally said this was our goal, and from that day on, we talked about state every single day. We want to make it to the state tournament. We want to be state level players. We want to play as a team. We want to reach that goal. And so that was just, I felt like that was the moment that it just kind of clicked in their heads that this was their goal. And then seeing them achieve the goal was probably the most exciting part of my coaching career so far. So
for sure.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to break down through the entire season, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure.
You start the year off, and you kind of do get off to a little bit of a slow start. Obviously, you're playing tough teams like Bowls, but I mean, you lose, 3 of your first 4, you get another loss a few games later. Was there any kind of panic at that point, or was it just early in the season and you're figuring it out? Or?
Yeah, I think we were really just trying to figure a lot of things out early in the season. We had a move-in junior setter, and the setter in volleyball is kind of almost like the quarterback in football. They run the plays, they touch the ball every play. And so her just being new to the team and new to the school, I think the girls just really had to get used to her, and she had to get used to them. So I think it took a little while in the beginning of the season for them to feel comfortable playing with each other.
Well, how tough of a transition is that? Like you said, the setter is such an important position. If that chemistry isn't there, and how tough is it to get there?
It really is. It's really tough. So we had last season we had our senior setter, Allie Collette, and she did a great job for the team. So we knew that losing her was going to be tough for us. We'd have to fill those shoes, and we had younger girls who were willing and definitely able to step into it as well, but just getting a new player to move into the district and who was able to step in and fill those shoes, showing up before school even starts and having to build those relationships before she even has the opportunity to get to know the girls. Right. Like it was.
She's learning the relationship more on a volleyball level than even a personal level.
Yes.
Right.
So It's very important, and it was kind of fun to see the girls really like bring her in as a part of the family. So that was fun.
So you're going through the season, starting to pick it up a little bit, but still taking some losses. Kind of, if I remember correctly, around the 500 level, and then something happens, and then you go on this amazing winning streak. I believe it was 16 games, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 18.
18. Okay.
Yes,
See,
so.
I'm taking two away from you. My fault. The crazy thing to me about the winning streak was you weren't only winning, you were just completely dominating all of these games, and most of them you were winning in straight sets. And as the person that was writing these articles, I have a habit of sometimes, because I'm very nerdy, this is what I've wanted to do my entire life, so I include things that maybe other people wouldn't care about or whatever, but I, if anything, add just a little bit too much. And I started adding, like, you know, they'd won 5 games in a row, but they'd actually won 15 sets in a row.
Yes.
And it got to the point where I was like, I'm being repetitive because I keep mentioning it, but the longer it goes on, the more impressive it is. You know what I mean? So you were winning just all these straight set games. You finally lose one set, you lose one set, but you're still winning these games. Like you said, 18-game winning streak. I mean, how much fun was that? And what kind of clicked there? What was different?
It was honestly, so my athletic director, Marshall Moore, kind of pointed out something, and I don't think it really clicked with me until he said it. But we were playing a home game versus Wolf City, and the girls started off just really rusty, like slow, weren't really talking, communicating to each other. And I called a timeout early on in the first set. And I really don't remember what I said in the timeout, but I felt like at that point I really needed to fire them up. So sometimes as a coach, you have to fire them up, light a fire under them. Sometimes you have to take a deep breath and just try to calm them down a little bit. And I guess in that moment, I felt like firing them up is what I needed to do. And he said from that moment, he never saw, you know, we didn't lose a set for, you know, several games in a row. And so when he pointed that out to me, I was like, oh yeah, that was kind of an exciting moment. And I think the girls really did come out of the timeout just fired up, pumped up, ready to go. And we had previously lost to Wolf City in a tournament like maybe 2 weeks before. So I think the girls were a little nervous going into the match. They wanted to win, but they had already lost to this team. And once they really got fired up and excited, they realized, hey, we can do this, we can win. So from that moment, they just kept winning, and it was really exciting. It was cool. It really was. There was pressure there. I know the girls started, and the fans started calling it the sweep streak, because we kept sweeping every team. And like I said, there was pressure there. I could see it as we got towards the end of our first round of district. We went through the first of our 6 games in district, sweeping every team until we faced Avery. And we lost that first set. We ended the sweep streak, but still won the game. And ultimately, that's really all that matters. But you could tell the girls were having to learn to play with all this pressure. And I don't think they had really understood how to play with pressure previously. They just showed up to play, and at this point they're like, wow, there's people talking about us, there's an expectation, there's goals we want to reach, and they just had to learn to play under pressure like that.
So that's kind of exactly what I wanted to ask you next. I mean, you're getting hot at like the perfect time. You know, it's towards the end of the season, it's district play. Was there any worry to you at all because of how much you were winning these games by, that there hadn't been any pressure, and that maybe you go into playoffs and you hadn't played in these really close games, maybe they wouldn't have that experience? Was there any worry of that in your mind, or were you just like, no, we're winning these games, what do I have to be worried about? Or like, what kind of was the mindset there?
I understood. I felt the worry there. I was kind of wanting us to play a few more games that were more than just 3 sets, kind of test the girls' endurance, their mental strength. So I knew that we were peaking kind of towards the middle of our district season, but I also knew that we had a really tough ending to our season. So we faced some of the top teams in our district at the very end of our district play. So I knew that that was going to be kind of a test for us. How are we going to handle facing these teams? And, you know, we played James Bowie, Detroit, Avery all back-to-back in their gyms, and we beat them. And when they come to our place, we just had a little bit more of a difficult time taking control of them. And I think they were really fired up because they wanted to beat us, right? We were the team to beat at that time. But Yeah, honestly, I think sometimes we do a little bit better playing away. I don't know why that is, but I think the girls sometimes get a little nervous defending their home court, and
Right.
sometimes
Which that bodes well for you because all these playoff games are going to be on the road.
Yeah,
They're going to be
exactly.
neutral territory. So.
Yes, so.
Before I get to the ending of the season, I want to go back just a little bit. At one point, do you remember when y'all first got in the rankings and everything? Around what point in the year would that have been?
Oh my gosh. It was probably early September is when I first noticed it. Yeah.
How big of a moment was that for you? Because I know, especially with the rankings, it's always tough, and especially you're out here in East Texas, you're a smaller school, especially if you haven't been, to state multiple times in a row, it can be really tough to get to that point. So how big was that just to even get there and then to keep climbing as it goes? And for the people that don't know, volleyball can be especially tough because 1A and 2A are combined, right?
Are combined, yes. Oh, it was really exciting, just seeing our name even on the list. I remember we were in like the mentionables at the bottom the first week that we were mentioned. And I was like, what? Like, I didn't even know anyone knew Sulphur Bluff existed sometimes. So that was really cool to see that we were being recognized for what these girls had worked so hard for. And that was something, again, that we talked about. I talked about with the girls. I talked about with the fans and community. Like, everyone knew it. So I think that, for one, added a little bit of pressure, but it also fired them up a little bit. They thought, we can do this, And that's when... each week from there, we started kind of climbing the rankings a little bit. And that's when I really started paying attention to the other teams too, like noticing who else was ranked and trying to have them on my radar. Like, well, we may face these teams, deep in the playoffs. So it was just exciting to see that we were being recognized. So that was fun.
Yes, ma'am. Again, and like we mentioned, it's not only, it's 1A and 2A. So whether if you were 3 or 4A, it's twice as many teams essentially now that you're having to fight for a spot with. But we're getting back to the season. You had been on this crazy winning streak, and then your last couple of district and regular season games, that's when you do finally lose again. Do you think in hindsight maybe that was exactly what the team needed, just to come back to earth a little bit before you get to the playoffs?
Yes, actually I do. I didn't think it at the time. We obviously wanted to go undefeated in district. We wanted to win our district because our district is mainly 2A schools. It's just us and Avery who are the 1As. So we had that goal, and unfortunately we lost those last 2 games, which really stunk at the time. But the more I think about it, the more I realize I think it was actually good for our team to lose. I think it gave us something to fight for. It gave us something to be excited about. Coaching teenage girls, there's always going to be a little bit of drama there. And those were some things we had to address, at that point in the season, like late into our district and early in the playoffs, just things we kind of had to sit down and talk about, each other's feelings and how we were getting along outside of practice and outside of the games. And
which is something that the average fan or viewer probably never considers.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So, there were times where I had to sit down and just talk with some of my players just to get them back in the game. And I think they all had the same goal ultimately. So that's why we were so successful in the playoffs, because the girls really did want to win together as a family. I think there was it's just teenage girls and drama. Like, you can't avoid it. So
yes, ma'am.
There's just things that happened in those last 2 games that kind of led to a little bit of tension on the court. And I'm kind of glad that it happened, because I think it allowed us to really pull together in the playoff season. So in hindsight, yes, I think it was a good thing.
So you get to the playoffs, you win your first game in straight sets, and then you run into back-to-back teams, Netchess and Miller Grove, which Miller Grove I did get to see a good bit this year. I covered them and everything. Netchess obviously didn't, but these are 2 teams that are like in the regional final like every single year.
Yes.
So how tough was it to run into them, and is it one of those like, if we're going to get there, we need to play the best teams we can get, we need the toughest road?
Exactly.
Like, how kind of walk me through the road that you had to getting to state?
So whenever Avery beat us in the last game of our district play, that made us and Avery ultimately tied, because we beat them once, they beat us, and they're the only other 1A. So at that point, we kind of had to sit and decide who was going to get which seed, and they volunteered to take the 2nd seed, which is where we had been the last 3 years, facing Miller Grove in the regional quarterfinals.
Right.
And I was okay with that because I thought taking a different path would actually be like really exciting for us. And I had already knew that meant we would face Neches sooner than the other way around. But I thought it would actually be really good for us. No matter what, you're going to have to beat Neches pretty much to make it to the state tournament.
No matter how it would have been, you would have had to beat those 2 teams at some point.
So it didn't really matter to me what path we were on. But going into the regional tournament, as a coach, we want to find film and we want to, investigate and talk about the other team and what they're good at, what they're not good at. And that's something that I enjoyed doing, but to my surprise, my players were doing it too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it was really cool. They would, send me a message, hey, Coach Jay, I found Neches film, and I've been watching it for the last hour, and I think we need to do this, and I think we need to do that.
Which, as a coach, that has to be an awesome feeling.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was my seniors were really, taking that by the horns, and they were like, no, we're going to beat this team, and I've already figured out how. So that was really cool. Instead of just me, the coach, watching the film and saying, hey, this is our game plan, they physically watched the other team, and they came up with a game plan that they thought was attainable for them. And so that was really exciting as a coach, just to see them, take that step and have that drive and determination to want to beat this other team so bad that they're investing their own time into it. So we knew that those 2 games would be really big matches for us, but we also had the confidence that we could win both of them. And so that was just a really exciting weekend.
So if you don't mind, you get done, you beat Neches, you beat Miller Grove. These are in back-to-back days, I believe, because of the regional tournament.
Yes.
Walk me through that moment. You have just made it to state, and not only have you made it to state, this is the first time in school history. Anytime you can be the first to do anything has to be a great feeling, but that's such a, Sulphur Bluff has been around for who knows how long, and you're doing this for the first time. What did that moment look like? What did it feel like?
It was so exciting. I really love watching the girls get excited. So I remember the final moments of the Miller Grove game. We were actually down the entire 4th set by 5 to 7 points. And I remember, I think Tori Rainey, one of my seniors, got on a serving run, pulled us back into the game, and they called a timeout, 24-23. And the girls came into the huddle, and they already had tears in their eyes. I think they could really at this point they could really feel it. They
feel
could
it maybe getting away from them a little bit.
Yes, and so they felt the possibility of it being real. We could really go to state right here. And so out of that timeout, we scored the winning point. So it was exciting, and I think just watching the girls' hard work all season just become successful for them and for us as a team. It was so exciting. We had such incredible fan support all year long. We had parents, we had community members, we had students traveling all the way to Fort Worth to watch our games, and they really made us feel super hyped up and excited, we earned our spot there and we deserved to be there. So that was really fun. It really was just an undescribable feeling. I felt excited that I got to be a part of this. I felt like we had worked really hard as a team. I'd worked hard as a coach. The girls had worked hard as players. And I felt like it just really, the hard work paid off. There are teams who, work hard all the time. Every year they make it to these cool points, and they never get to experience that feeling. So I felt really grateful and blessed, and just excited.
And of course, this isn't just hard work that you've put in this year. This is years in the making.
Yes.
And just to get to that point, I can't even imagine. And you had mentioned all the support you're getting. I'm kind of in a unique position as the person who's, covering the team, writing the news. I not only get to see some of that, but what I've also seen a lot of, especially the further you made it, when you made it to state, I'm seeing a lot of support from fans or parents from Como-Picton or from Miller Grove or just everywhere in Hopkins County. So it felt like once you got to a certain point, it wasn't just Sulphur Bluff that you had. It's kind of like all of the surrounding, all of Hopkins County kind of seemed to be supporting y'all there.
Yeah, that was really cool.
So I don't want to talk too much about the final loss or anything, but can you just walk us through, again, for every player, for every coach, whatever it is, this is the ultimate goal, and you've made it. Can you just kind of walk us through your, the trip there, warming up for the game? Just what kind of were the feelings like? I mean, what did that feel like?
Yeah. So from winning Saturday to turning around and having to leave Tuesday, there wasn't a whole lot of time to prepare. The girls, again, had taken their own time to find film on Fayetteville, the team that we had matched up with, and got really excited. So we only really had one practice before we headed off to the state tournament.
Which has to be tough.
Yeah. I felt like I wanted more practice, but at this point in the season, the girls aren't going to physically become so much better. It's more of a mental thing, like making the right decisions. So we had our practice on Monday, and I mean, the whole school was just really hyped up for us. They were so excited. They wanted T-shirts, and they wanted to come to the game. And our school actually shut down on Wednesday, so the entire Sulphur Bluff school could come. But Tuesday we left for the state tournament. We got to have court time, and we were only allowed 15 minutes. Every team was only allowed 15 minutes on the court. And as a coach, we obviously want more than that, but I mean, it's better than nothing.
Right.
So we had our 15 minutes of court time. The girls were honestly pretty nervous because the other 1A schools were there. They were able to watch us. We could watch them. And it was just playing in a huge arena like that. They'd never played anywhere so big. So I wanted
to ask about that too. Yeah. Playing in an arena for someone who's never played in an arena probably has to be a very different feeling.
Yes, they started to really feel kind of just awkward, I think, on the court during that 15 minutes. We tried to utilize it the best that we could, but you could tell the girls were like, these balls feel different, the ceiling is different, the lighting is different, everything was different for them. And I had to tell them, quit making excuses, just play volleyball. But it does make a difference, it really does. And that entire evening leading up to the semifinals match, the girls really enjoyed time together. Our athletic director and superintendent graciously allowed us to stay at an Airbnb instead of a hotel. So the girls really got to enjoy quality time together. So they got to watch movies and watch film together. We got to enjoy dinner together. It was just a really fun experience. They got to be a team and be a family.
Right.
Wednesday morning was, I think the entire house just woke up with anxiety.
And of course, you're playing at 11 a.m., so you're up as early as possible, I'm sure.
Yes, so we were up pretty early. We fed the girls breakfast and pretty much hit the road. And once we got to the Curtis Colwell Center, it was it felt like a movie. We were coming in, and we had basically a designated UIL team member taking us to the locker room and taking us to team pictures and taking us to the court. It just felt very official.
Right.
And so the girls were so excited by this, but I know it also made them really nervous. Luckily, because we were the first game of the day, we got to have about an hour of court time before the game started, so that was nice. But it wasn't the full court, just our half of the court. So I felt like it gave the girls the opportunity to kind of sweat, get warmed up, and get used to the balls. They said the balls were very different from what we normally play with, but it was just a really fun experience. I was nervous the whole time. I was trying really hard not to let the girls see how nervous I was, but it's just such a huge stage and platform, and everyone's watching you, our entire community, and like you said, the county. I had received so many text messages Wednesday morning. You've got an entire county supporting you, not just Sulphur Bluff. So it was really fun and exciting, and I'm so glad that I got to be a part of the experience. So
that was one of the things that stuck out to me. It's I was lucky enough I got to go to the game and everything, and it's a Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. and I still was there are a ton of people here right now. Even for an arena with as big as it is, it looks hard, or it's hard to look filled up, but it still looked pretty filled up and everything. So definitely had a ton of support there. If you don't mind walking me back through a little bit, it's a Saturday. You were nice enough to take the time out of your day to do this. I don't want to waste your entire day, but I want to walk back a little bit. Was there ever a moment you remember, maybe there are a couple different moments where whether it's you're on the sideline, or maybe you've made it back home after a game where you're we can do this, we might just go to state this year? Did you ever have any moments like that, or was it never something that you were looking past where you were at? Or
No, I knew that we had the the talent to go to state. I knew it was just piecing everything together. And I think a big part of it was being able to motivate the girls. These kids are just so involved in everything. Most of them play every sport. Half of them were running cross country in the middle of volleyball season. I've got a few that rodeo. I've just got kids so involved in everything. It's kind of hard to get them motivated and focused into one thing. So I think that was my biggest thing. Was I knew physically we had the talent. I knew we could physically do it, but I also knew that getting the girls on the same page as me was going to be the biggest aspect of it. Were they willing to buy in?
Right.
Were they willing to put in this effort and this extra work to make it to state? And they were. And I was fortunate enough to have 6 seniors on the team this year. And so I think that really helped. I also think my juniors were great leaders as well. But just the seniors have that kind of urgency because this is their last season.
Right.
So they want to do something really historical and exciting their senior year, their last year. So I think that helped was the senior leadership on the team. They really pulled the girls together and said, hey, we're going to do this. And that's what it was. So,
So where you're at right now, I don't want to be insensitive and ask so what's next? But where are you in terms of just kind of taking it all in and enjoying the success you've had this year, but also having to look forward to how do I get back here? You know what I mean? Where are you at in that process?
Yeah, so it's only been a couple days, but I've already thought about it. Like I just said, 6 seniors, that's a lot to lose.
Right.
But I'm actually really confident in some of my underclassmen. I had several sophomores suit up with us for the playoff season because I thought they would help the girls in practice. I thought they would be really good assets to the team. I knew that they were capable of playing with the varsity girls, and I knew that it would be a really fun experience for them. And I also thought having these girls play up would give more incentive for next year. They've seen it, they've experienced it, they want to do the same thing again.
It won't be completely new to them.
Yes, exactly. Right. So I'm actually really confident and excited for next year. We're definitely losing a lot with the seniors, but I think the underclassmen are going to be able to step up. I think they have the same mindset that the girls had this year, and I think now that they've seen it, that it's possible, I think it's reality now. It's not just a dream.
Yes, ma'am.
So I feel excited. We obviously have to get in the gym. I mean, we want to have a spring league or a good summer league or something to really get the girls touches and get excited. But I mean, half the girls after our loss Wednesday, woke up at 6:30 Thursday morning to go to a basketball tournament. So
yes, ma'am.
they play everything. So there's them staying active and in the gym is going to be helpful, but also hopefully getting them involved in volleyball at some point in the spring or the summer is going to be a big factor, I think.
The last thing I want to do with you before we let you get out of here, because the season is over now, the district awards have been released. So do you mind walking us through some of these? I know you have Skylar Stanley wins MVP of the district.
Yes, she did. I thought that was very well deserved. She led our team in kills, blocks, sometimes aces and digs as well. She's just a very dominant player. Her height obviously helps. She's 6'1", but also just her mentality. She wants to be successful. She's a playmaker. She wants to be in the play. She wants to touch the ball. She wants to win. So I thought that was very rightfully deserved for her to win the MVP of the district, and I'm really excited for her to have that. So.
Absolutely. You have a pair of first team all-district as well. That was Tori Rainey and Caitlin Brock.
Yes. So, again, I think all these awards are well-deserved. The girls worked hard. Tori's a senior, outside hitter. She's been on varsity since her sophomore year, so this is her 3rd year having that varsity experience. And my favorite thing with Tori this year was just watching her mature. Yeah, she was one of the players that was kind of leading the team and let's watch film, let's have a game plan. This is what we can do. This is what can work.
I was about to say, I believe she was one of your co-captains as well, right?
Yes, she was. Tori and Skylar were my 2 captains. She just, like I said, her maturity this year was just so exciting. She really took this season and she took each game as her own, and she said, this is what we need to do to win. This is what we need to do to beat this team. And she was a really great leader for the girls this year. And then
awesome.
Caitlin, she was the move-in junior setter, And like I said, in the beginning of the season, it's just her getting to know the girls and them getting to know her. There was no bad blood or anything. It was just trying to find that connection. And she did a great job this year. Athletically, she's so quick. She's fast. She can get to almost any ball. So she's really fun to watch.
That was one of those things. You were obviously sending me the stats after every game so I can, put the articles out. And it was one of those, like, every game, she'd have sometimes 30 assists, 22 assists, 26 assists. And it got to one of the deals I could kind of compare the two. And, like, just every game, it felt like 20-plus assists. So she clearly, once she, found that, it was going very well.
Yes, the ball in her hands was very good for us. So she did a great job this season. So
don't want to leave anybody out. You also had a second team all district.
Yes.
Can you tell us who that was?
Taylor Wallace. So she was my libero this year. Last year she was a setter. Her and Allie Collette kind of switched time setting. Sometimes Allie would set in a 5-1 offense, and sometimes we'd run a 6-2 with Taylor because, in my eyes, Taylor was going to be the setter for this year, And Taylor's a really great kid. She works hard, and she has really great ball control, whether it's off of her hands or her platform. So when Caitlin moved in, it was one of those things where I said, well, her and Taylor could probably split setting time, but then that means they're splitting playing time as well when I'd like to have both of them on the court all the time. So I kind of moved her into that position, which was new for her, but she was really excited, I think, to play libero this year, and I thought she did a fantastic job.
You also had 3 honorable mentions, Lydia Drummond, Daisy Howes, Allie Eason.
Yes, so all 3 of those are seniors. Just great kids, honestly. I'm really going to miss them next year. I'll talk about each one just for a second. So Lydia Drummond was really, I felt like she was kind of like the glue of our team this year, and she may not have always shown that on the stat sheet, but she was so vocal and she was just so genuine as a person. She still is. Just a very genuine person and leader for our team that I thought she really pulled us together because, she just genuinely loved each one of her teammates so much. She was such a voice. She listened to me. She listened to my assistant coach. She wanted to be the best teammate she could be. It wasn't always about being the best player, but it was about her being the best teammate. And so that's something I really admire about Lydia.
And it felt like she was one of those people, you said it's sometimes tough to show in the stat sheet, but it felt like a lot of the games that I remember anyway, she would have a bunch of digs, but there would also be at least one of everything. You know what I mean? She just kind of stuffed a little bit of all of it.
Yes, she really did. She scratched the surface in every area. She just brought a lot of energy to the court. I think she just made some really big plays for us. And like I said, just her genuine mentality for the love for her team was just really fun to see as a coach. Daisy House, another senior. Daisy actually did not play volleyball her sophomore year.
Oh, wow.
So I'm not really sure why she decided to not play that year, but she came back last year. And she said, she wanted to try volleyball again. And I remember having the conversation with her last year as a junior. I was like, Daisy, you didn't play last year, so you may have to do a little bit of time on the JV. You may have to work a little bit harder because you're a whole year off of volleyball. And I really admired her determination about that. I thought she took it really well, and she did. She played a couple games on the JV, and she proved to me that she earned that spot rightfully on the varsity. And she came back this year and did the same thing. She's just a really great kid. She's one of those kids who would come in early in the morning and just get extra touches every now and then. And she works she's not only just an athlete and involved in school, but she works. She has a job, and she's very committed to that too. And I was very impressed by her ability to work an entire volleyball season while also putting in the effort and the work that she did. So. And then the last senior, Allie Eason. So again, Allie also has worked really hard this year. Her first year playing volleyball ever was her sophomore year. She'd never touched a volleyball before that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she was homeschooled and then started school at Sulphur Bluff her sophomore year. And that was the year I was her JV coach. So we really got to build a good connection there. She's a great kid. She's a really tough kid. She actually tore her ACL, MCL, something there in the knee at some point in this season, and she just kept playing because she was like, I'm not going to miss out on
Right.
my senior season. So just her courage and her mentality to really like step up and physically go through a lot of pain to continue to play this sport and finish her season that she loved was really admirable in my eyes. So I really loved watching each one of these kids play.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you so much for coming in today.
Yeah.
An incredible season, and I just wanted, we write the articles about it and everything, but I just thought, like, you've had a historic year. Like, it'd be awesome to get you to come in here and kind of walk us, through this season and everything. So I cannot say congratulations to you and your team and everybody enough.
Thank you so much.
I can't wait to see what's next.
Yeah,
you know what
me
I mean?
too. I'm excited.
I do want to give you the last chance, like, to enter my interviews. This is kind of your open platform to talk to, the community, the people that have been supporting you. So if there's anything you would like to say.
I really just want to say thank you. I received so many congratulations and well-deserved messages throughout the last couple weeks. It's just been really exciting. Like I said, the girls have worked hard. I've worked hard. Our entire school has worked hard to give these girls this opportunity to be what they have been this year. And it just feels really good to see it all pay off. So I'm so thankful to our community members, all of the parents of the girls. They were so fun to watch at the games. I don't always hear all their cheers and their chants or exactly what they're saying, but I know that they're there. So I really want to give a huge shout out to all of the Sulphur Bluff community parents, our athletic director, superintendent, my co-coaches. Everyone was so supportive of these kids, and I couldn't have helped get them there if it wasn't for all of those great people. So
Yes, ma'am. Well, again, thank you so much for coming in. Congratulations for all the success you had this year.
thank you.